there's a lot of places to bird along the Pacific coast, it is the shoreline that I like the most.
Thank you for tuning in to Hannah and Eric Go Birding, podcast by birders for birders.
I'm Hannah and he's Eric.
We created this podcast to share adventures, sometimes misadventures, and opinions that we have on different birding topics. We're definitely not experts, and anything that we discuss that might be controversial, I want you to remember their own opinions might be different from yours. It was a smooth, snappy beat to that song.
Thank you. I neglected to see how long the first line was.
How many syllables it was going to be.
Yeah. So should we start off with our big news?
Big news.
Okay, so we're going to Costa Rica, and
in October,
and we want you to come with us.
Yeah, so
maybe not everybody.
At least 10 people? What is it? Yeah. So we are working with Naturalist Journeys. We've assembled an itinerary with their help to go to Costa Rica in mid-October. So
we were at Rio Grande in November, and they were like, hey, do you want to do a listener trip to Costa Rica? And we're like, heck yes, we want to do that.
And we talked about this for a while, like doing like a listener retreat or doing something like that. Like, oh, come join us on a trip somewhere. We'll plan something fun. And Naturalist Journeys reached out while we were in the Rio Grande Valley Bird Festival, and was kind of like, they floated this idea to us, and we're like, we've literally been thinking about this, and we've talked about this. This sounds like a perfect partnership for us to put their ideas and our ideas together and do a listener trip to Costa Rica.
Yeah, so it's 8 days, 7 nights, Costa Rica, and it's flying in and out of San Jose Airport, which is, the biggest, easiest one to get to in Costa Rica. And then it's a full itinerary of a lot of birding, like north of San Jose, and actually parts that we've never been to. Yeah. So I'm excited to check out a new part of Costa Rica.
Yeah, we've been to Costa Rica twice, and this is a different area. It is going, it's north and a little bit east, and it's going kind of towards the Caribbean, but it's not going out towards the Caribbean coast, but it is kind of going up that direction. And tons of birds are in this itinerary. I can't wait to get out there.
Yeah, and
can't wait to like read more about the very specifics and get the percentages of our targets and all that.
Well, and it's going to places that we've heard of but we haven't been yet, like La Selva and Sarapiquí. And yeah, I'm really excited, and we want you to come with us. So we'll have it in the show notes. So if you want to check out the itinerary or, inquire about it, you can do all that on the show notes. And, we did what we could to try to minimize the costs as much as possible. So that's one of our goals, is that we want people to be able to travel regardless of your financial situation. Yeah. And so we really pushed Naturalist Journeys to be like, hey, can we cut costs where we can, but still have a great experience? So check it out. And, we'd love to have you go with us. It is October 15th through the 22nd. Like you said, you're really excited. I'm really excited. And I'm excited to share this new part of Costa Rica, for us at least, with some of you all.
Yeah, and we will be sharing it all over social media in the coming weeks and months. So if you miss listening to it right now, you won't know that you missed it because you didn't hear it. But it will be on social media, so we'll be posted about it all over the place.
Raise your hand if you're not here.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone that isn't here, raise your hand. Exactly.
Yeah, actually, if you're on our trip, you'll probably hear us say that at least once.
At least once, yeah. Probably.
So, besides that, we want to thank some folks for buying us coffee, and that's Melinda and Leslie. Thank you for buying my earrings. I got a message from Deborah earlier, who bought my Gannet earrings and said she thought they were really cute. And I'm so excited that you liked them because, like I said, I am having a lot of fun making these resin earrings with birds in them, and they're sparkly. Unlike my general vibe isn't so sparkly. But I like making sparkly things. Yeah. But it's been a lot of fun, and I appreciate those of you who have bought some already. I feel like I'm actually creative. Yay! So thank you for that.
Awesome. All right. So in between episodes of Hannah and Eric Go Birding, Hannah has other episodes of Hannah Goes Birding. Oh, wait, it's not Hannah Goes Birding. It's other episodes. So you have Women Birders Happy Hour and Bird Nerd Book Club that come out in between episodes of Hannah and Eric Go Birding. Last week, you had Women Birders Happy Hour. You had someone on, right?
Yes, I had her name is Layden Heredia, but she goes by Asharita Villahara on social medias. And
I've seen her all over TikTok and everything.
I know. She's so much fun. And she always, howdy, nature lovers. She's very fun and sparkly and cute. And I just had a great time chatting with her. So check that out anywhere you listen to podcasts.
And then next week, Bird Nerd Book Club comes out.
Yeah, so this one I'm really excited about. I had Jennifer Bristol, who's been on before on Women Birders Happy Hour and Bird Nerd Book Club, and she's one of my
she's a mover and shaker. She's making things happen.
She's one of my great friends from Texas, and she has a book that just came out that's called Wild Women for Good, and it's all about women and the cool conservation work that they've done. A lot of times they don't get the credit for it, and actually, just briefly, she started off by saying that her mom, who is a conservation hero in her own right, she suggested the idea of the book because she'd see pictures of women or see their names on, in different places when they go traveling to these different reserves and, wild scenic basin and all that stuff. And she wanted to know more about those women. So it's such a great book and so interesting. Even if you have never been to Texas or don't know anything about Texas, it was just such a great read to hear about women doing conservation work. So check that out anywhere you listen to podcasts, Bird Nerd Book Club, and that one's out February 26th. So Eric, we'll be traveling.
Yes, we are. When this episode comes out, we will be in Japan. So we're going to be in Japan for 10 days. Super excited about that. Lots of really cool birds, owls, and sea eagles, and cranes.
We'll see. I don't know. Don't jinx it.
It is also dumping snow over there right now, so we'll see.
I might be a Yeti.
But anyways, when we get back, we will be going to Spring Chirp in April. Going to be much different weather conditions compared to the... In theory, yeah. And in the Rio Grande Valley in April. In October, we just discussed it a second ago, but we will be going to Costa Rica.
And we want
hopefully
you to come.
With a bunch of you guys that are listening right now. And then in November, the Rio Grande Valley Birding Festival. We haven't gotten our golden ticket yet this year, but
I'm just gonna manifest it. I put that on there.
We'll just talk about it, and then that way the coordinator can't not invite us to come guide because we'll already be telling people about it. But Rio Grande Valley Birding Festival in November, first week in November. It's a ton of fun. It's substantially larger than Spring Chirp, but it's very similar species, so it's kind of a great second trip to the...
I don't know. I kind of like Spring Chirp because then you get all the...
You get the warblers.
Breeding plumage.
Warblers and breeding plumage is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Though it's kind of fun to do fall warblers since we don't really get fall warblers over here.
No, it's not fun to do fall warblers. I think there's a whole school of thought of people...
About people hating fall warblers.
Yeah, right? Exactly. That's a thing.
That's true.
It's weird duck time. Yeah. Didn't Rosemary Moscow invent all that? I don't know. She's hilarious. Yeah. Anyway, so that brings us to our February Bird Nerd giveaway. And what we're asking you to answer is, what bird do you think has the most interesting breeding strategy or breeding behavior or something to that effect?
Yeah, so I mentioned Lex. I like Lex of any sort, cock of the rock or sage grouse or any of those things whenever, or the mannequins, birds gathering in groups to do things and then they disperse. I thought that's a great breeding strategy, breeding behavior.
Well, and I was mentioning the Anna's hummingbirds that I really like the big J shape that the males do is they like at the females and then go back up to the top and try it again.
J,
yeah. Because it's, I don't know, it's just fun and it's terrifying when it happens and you aren't aware of it. So our randomly selected winner is winning a pack of artwork from Christina Ball, who's a fantastic artist that we have the joy of seeing at Spring Chirp, or not Spring Chirp. We have the joy of seeing at Rio Grande Valley Birding Festival and Morro Bay, and she goes to San Diego and tons of different places.
She goes all over the place to hawk her wares, to sell her amazing artwork all across the country.
Yeah, so Eric, who was our randomly selected winner?
So randomly selected winner was Angelina. Angelina contacted us on Facebook and said that she has to go with a classic, and that's whooping cranes. The first courtship display that she remembers seeing when she was younger. So super interesting display. Is the whooping crane display just like the sandhill cranes? Is it similar? Do they grab the sticks and throw them and dance?
I think
for some reason I feel I should have looked that up before we started recording, but I feel like that's what it is.
I think a lot of cranes,
similar
probably
to
do similar jumping up and,
just the awkward jumping. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, If it isn't exactly that, Angelina, let us know. Maybe shoot us a description. But you are the randomly selected winner, so we'll be reaching out to get your contact information to get you some artwork from Christina.
Yeah, and we had a lot of other fun responses as well, like ostriches and how the males will drop to their knees and sway back and forth and try to attract the females that way. Cheryl also said American woodcocks, and they're, where they fly up really high and peen, peen, peen. So there's a lot of fun ones to explore. So thank you all who submitted, and next month we will have another Bird Nerd giveaway for you.
So we just got back from Morro Bay Bird Festival a couple of weeks ago.
Which is on the Central California coast.
Central California coast, at this rock that's fairly reminiscent of home. It's a giant rock that's right on the beach. We have a giant rock right on the beach here in Haystack Rock.
We do, you're right.
Their rock is like twice the size, both in width and in height. So I guess it's 4 times the size.
I feel like ours is still more impressive, but I think that's because like you see it from such a great. Well, you can see.
You see theirs from a great distance too. They're entirely different geologic features. Though.
They are.
Ours is a headland that got eroded out, and it's a lava flow.
Theirs is a volcanic plug.
Theirs is a volcanic plug. So entirely different formations, entirely different types of rock that it's made out of.
Hannah and Eric go geology.
We go geology-ing. Yeah. But we just got back from that.
Yeah,
and it was a blast. We love to go down there. It's usually nice and warm and sunny, as opposed to Oregon coast, which is slightly less sunny and slightly less warm than a lot of places. Usually pretty wet.
Yeah. I feel the damp in my bones.
In your bones.
But it's a great festival, and we really enjoy going to it, like Eric said, because it's also not very far away. So it's an easy, like, weekend sort of, trip for us.
Yeah, and we went last year as well, which was fun too.
Yeah, and so we were excited that they asked us back. And although it's, like, a great festival and it's a cool place to be, it's not really the most convenient spot in terms of airports.
As someone that has to fly in, it's difficult. If we're driving, it's not too bad. It adds like a day and a half total to our time away from work to drive down and drive back, as opposed to just flying.
Like 3 days.
Well, because we already have our day flying on either end, so it adds a little bit more to our travel.
I guess you're right.
But the airports aren't really super convenient. There's a regional airport, a very small regional airport in San Luis Obispo.
Yeah.
Which is only like 15 minutes, 20 minutes away. So it's from the festival itself. So it's pretty darn close, but it's a very small regional airport that's relatively expensive to fly into.
Yeah, and last year we flew in and out of LAX, and that was just because we were going to South Africa afterwards, and so that was convenient for us because we were leaving from LAX to South Africa.
Yeah.
So, like Eric said, this year we were going back and forth from home, and so we just kind of chose to go to San Jose because that was the time and money that we were willing to spend.
Honestly, it was cheaper to fly into San Jose, which was 3.5 hours north. Cheaper to fly into San Jose and rent a car than it was just the flights into San Luis Obispo.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, well, this saves a bunch of money to just do this. It adds 3.5 hours at the beginning and 3.5 hours at the end of drive time, but it's not. You're driving through an area that you might be able to bird in. So it ends up turning a 3.5 hour drive into a 6 hour drive because you stopped and bird.
Which is what we want to talk to you about today.
A little bit, yeah.
So we flew into the airport, got our rental car, and it was pretty early in the morning. So we had most of the day to be able to explore.
I think we landed at like 10 a.m. or 9 a.m. or something.
Something like that.
Yeah, it was an early flight.
Yeah, so we still had a couple hour drive, but we were hoping to break it up with some birding stops along the way. But, we couldn't find a whole lot of quality looking eBird hotspots along the path.
Not directly on the route. Everything was kind of relatively distant.
So we didn't really have a great idea of where exactly to stop, but we did notice that there were a number of Pinnacles National Park signs.
I think there was 75 signs.
I mean, there was dozens of them.
Every single exit for a good hour of the drive was oh, take this exit for the West Gate, or take this exit for the Visitor Center.
Yeah.
It was but the last exit said that, and then we get to the next one. It's the last 2 exits said that. Where do we actually exit?
How can it actually?
How can it span so many different exits? It seemed excessive.
So by the time we got to what we think was probably the last one,
I think so, yeah.
We were like, well, let's go check it out.
They wore us down. Yeah, they wore us down. We just could not resist anymore. We're like, okay, fine, we'll go to Pinnacles.
And we've been to Pinnacles before. We went, I don't know, like 6 years ago or so. We talked about it on the podcast.
Yeah.
And that's where we got our lifer condors.
Exactly. But that was the east side.
But we didn't necessarily know that.
We had no idea
at the time. We were like, sure, we'll go back to Pinnacles, whatever. Yeah, that's cool. And so like we said, we wore it down. It wore us down, and we went.
Yeah, so we took the exit, drove all the way up. It's substantially further away from the highway than I was kind of expecting.
Well, it's not just the exit off the highway it's like once you get off the turnoff, it's pretty far from there.
Yeah, you turn and it's like, oh, this is the entrance. It's like, okay, cool. And then you're driving, and it's beautiful country. You're driving through like these hills, and
it was really narrow roads in some sections.
It got all the way down to one lane for a big chunk of that drive as you're going in.
But then we were still seeing like passing houses and vineyards. It was like these people all live on a one lane road.
On a single one lane road. Yeah. Yeah. So it was a long ways in, but we made it. Got all the way in.
We found out it was the West Side Visitor Center. So not where we had been before. So we get up to the gate, and it's a $30 entrance fee for the day, or $80 for the year for the annual resident National Park Pass, which I'm kind of wishing we would have done that. But, there's so few national parks that we end up going to each year.
Yeah, we only have one actual national park in Oregon, Crater Lake.
But it gets you into other federal sites too.
I guess so. But
how often do we visit?
But how often do we go to those?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we normally go to the National Wildlife Refuges and stuff. Yeah. That's normally where we end up going. Which I don't know if the National Annual Parks Pass gets you into the. I don't know, but regardless,
it's $30 to get in.
It's $30 to get in, or $80 to get in for the year, and we chose to get in for the day.
That's how we paid.
That's what we did.
This is a great podcast.
It's very technical.
So when we got there, though, there was 2 motorcycles in the parking lot,
and that was it.
And so we asked the ranger, like, where do we find condors?
Do you know about condors?
Yeah.
Have you seen any? Has anyone told you about condors?
And she was kind of like, we haven't really seen them that much lately. In the morning, you can see them on the Pinnacles. But it was to around noon. So we were like, well, give it a try. I mean, we drove all the way out here.
Yeah, maybe there'll be some soaring somewhere. It was like the weather and everything, the temperature felt very much like when we're doing Hawk Watch. Like the time of day when hawks are flying.
Yeah.
When they start soaring, the thermals have warmed up enough. It's not super hot, so it's oppressive, but it's just kind of like, ugh. So it's like, all right, maybe we'll see some soaring around. So we walked past the visitor center itself, which was closed. I'm not sure if it was like national budget cuts or what, but the visitor center itself was closed, locked up, and lights were all turned off.
They had quality bathrooms.
The bathrooms are quality, and they were accessible from even outside, so you just needed to get into the park to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, and so we walked along the main trail, and the ranger, when she was like explaining places that we should go and check out, she was like saying like this trail's 5 miles and this one's 8 miles. And we were like, okay, we're here for half an hour.
Because that honestly, that evening, it was at this point we're talking like noon ish. I think it was 6 o'clock that we had to be down in Morro Bay. So it's like, well, we have time frames because we had an orientation and stuff like that to go to, or is something to go to.
We had to check in.
Check in, that's what it was.
And it's kind of like I would love to hike Pinnacles all day, but we hadn't planned for that. We just got there to see if we could find the condors.
Yeah.
And so we walked down the main trail past the visitor center. And it's really just a stunning view from there of the Pinnacles. And I don't know how far they were, a couple miles from us. But
yeah, maybe
an incredible view of them.
Oh, yeah.
And so we just walked around the corner of the trail that was on the slope until we had like a more clear, unobstructed view of the Pinnacles. And got out the spotting scope, and we were trying to scope out some condors and anything else that was out there.
Trying to find stuff.
Yeah.
Anything flying, anything and everything.
But right around us, there were wren tits and California towhees calling near the trail. California scrub jays were flying back and forth in the trees that were just below us, like in a vegetated riparian area.
Yeah.
And a couple of things that were soaring near the rocks.
Yeah, so I spent probably almost the entire time staring at little tiny dots in the sky, trying to make them condors. Every single time I'm like, oh, no, okay, that's definitely a vulture. Definitely a vulture. And then a red tail. It's like, oh, cool, red tail. That's cool. Add that to the list. That's exciting. But just turkey vulture, turkey vulture, turkey vulture. And they're just circling and starting to get a little like, okay, well, I guess no condors this time.
Yeah, and I was looking, in the scope and then binoculars too, because we had to take turns because it was, eye fatigue was setting in a little bit, and
because we were spending a lot more time there than we actually really budgeted,
and it was
kind of like we just need to at least a glimpse.
It was pretty warm too, but the cool thing that I thought was that you could see people hiking on top of the pinnacles.
Yeah, like way over there.
Yeah,
I didn't realize
tiny little people.
Yeah, I didn't realize that there's people over there until like halfway through us scanning, and I'm like, because I wasn't focusing on the rocks, I was focusing on the sky just above the rocks.
Yeah.
And then eventually, because you said something about the people over there, I'm like, oh geez, yeah, there are little tiny, little microscopic people up there on top of the rocks.
After seeing that,
walking
though,
around.
Like that made me think about the California Adventure, the soaring over America or whatever it's called now, soaring over California, and just some of the views from that were just so iconically like, that experience, and it just made me really want to go hike the pinnacles at some point in our lives.
Yeah, we need to go back and actually devote a couple of days to that area.
Yeah.
We keep going in and leaving too quickly and not actually doing big long hikes there.
Well, we're just going looking for condors.
That's true. Which, after we pretty much had given up, I had one more push of vultures flying past, and one vulture was not like the other.
I was like, you're full of it, man.
Substantially larger, too.
You just wanted to be a condor.
I wanted it to so bad, but it was a condor. It had the big white patches on it, so it was like super obvious. The back of the wings dark, front of the wings white, as opposed to turkey vultures, which is front of the wings dark, back of the wings light, silvery colored. So it was like, okay, well, we've already got that. And it flew right next to it, circled right past another vulture, and it's like, oh, it's much larger than the vultures. Oh, good. It had the primaries sticking out on its fingers, like big long fingers sticking out. Yeah. So I was like, all right, it's like, oh, this is a condor. So I was like, Hannah, you got to look at this. So she got to look. We got to look at this condor. Okay. Or your condor. Yeah. So that was good.
Yeah, that was good. I really thought you were wishfully thinking it was the one though. I was like, oh sure, Eric, yep, that's a condor.
Yeah, after a half hour of staring blindly into the sky.
So we got our looks and we started heading back to the car. In the tree alongside the parking lot, there was a phainopepla, which like after hearing it on and on and on again in Tucson, I have that stuck in my head now. So it's like, okay, yes, bird. I know that one, phainopepla. So that was good because I don't know that we're going to get another one throughout the year.
Probably not for the year, yeah.
Not that we're like doing a super big year list or anything, but it's kind of nice to check off some of those things.
Especially when you're at the beginning of the year. I don't in March I'm not going to think about it.
Every year has potential to be a big year.
In April or May I'm not going to be thinking about it, but in January I'm usually thinking, because we just got off of last year finishing and looking at what our total numbers are and everything for last year, so that for a month or two I'm thinking like, oh, I wonder what I'm going to get this year. Yeah. And then I forget all about it, and then I start thinking about it again in November.
So as we were getting to the car, we saw a coyote over by the pay station that was just kind of playing around in the grassy field. So that was cool because we don't see a whole lot of coyotes. And then we drove down to the other parking lot, which is seriously like a ways.
It's like as long as the first drive.
It's like,
to get in there.
I don't know, 15 or 20 minute drive. Yeah. Which it's through like beautiful different habitats. And we got along one point where there was a tree like right next to the road, and we kind of had the road like curved around the tree. Yeah. And I saw just like a tail, leave past us, and it ended up being a fox.
Yeah, I didn't even see it. I was busy staring at the road trying not to kill us.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm just driving along.
I was finding the foxes. Hey, you saw the black bear, and I didn't get to
That's
see
true. I did see a black bear in Florida a few years ago.
Yeah, and I didn't get to see that because I was trying to figure out where to get dinner.
Yeah, you're looking
and
at your phone.
And you were making sure that we...
I was making sure that we don't hit the black bear.
Yeah. So, yeah, we got down to the base of the rocks. That is a spectacular view from, from that parking lot, too.
Both locations, the visitor center itself or the hiking area down at the end of the road. Beautiful scenic views from the parking lot. And I can only imagine it gets better the further you hike in.
Yeah. I just don't even want to think of what the elevation change is going to be like.
It's probably not bad.
It's going to be a scramble up the entire way.
Yeah, it's doable.
So we had to pull ourselves away, even though it was so beautiful and we wanted to spend more time there, and head towards Morro Bay.
Mm-hmm. So, like we already described, Morro Bay.
Oh, except on the way out of the park, there was a roadrunner.
Oh, there was a roadrunner. Yeah. Like literally, like we had just passed the pay station. 15 seconds, 20 seconds past the pay station.
Yeah.
Runs out across the road. It's like, oh, geez. So anyways, we get down to Morro Bay. Morro Bay is at Morro Rock. We went to go watch the sunset at Morro Rock, and then went to go check in at the festival. Sunsets in Central California, they're pretty good. Yeah, they're pretty good here in Oregon too. We get some good sunsets off the coast. I just want people to know. Just don't think that they're going to be better there than they are here. They're pretty good here. In the fall,
it's warmer there.
It's much warmer there, though it wasn't really that much warmer for that sunset. Anyways,
so we got into Morro Bay, we checked into the hotel, checked into the festival, and, said hi to everybody, and so glad to be back, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then we wanted to make sure we got down to Morro Rock for sunset, because apparently now that's a tradition for us. When we get there, we got to see the sunset at Morro Rock.
The first sunset of the festival.
Yeah, and so we got there, got to the parking lot. It was kind of busy. It wasn't like super busy. There's a lot of people that like to go out there and watch the sunset. And also, it's such a good recreation area that there's people walking and biking and dogs and all that stuff.
It feels very much like Mission Bay in San Diego.
Yeah.
Like, so many people doing so many things all the time. Very active. Right around the rock.
Yeah. And so the cool thing was that we were like standing over where the sea otters typically hang out in the bay right there. And we looked up over Morro Rock, and there was a peregrine falcon, so we were watching that for a little bit. But then there was a flock of white-throated swifts, maybe 100 of them.
At least. Like, I put 100 on the thing, and because I just was like, I just don't want to way overestimate this, but there was a ton. There were so many white-throated swifts, just like a
they were like riding the winds.
It was like a swiftnado. Yeah. Like a tornado of swifts swirling around just over and over and over.
Well, and it seemed like they were all randomly, moving around, but then they moved into like a cohesive unit, like a flock of starlings, like a murmuration.
Almost like a murmuration for a minute,
and then they were gone. And like somebody came up and said something to us, and we were like, "Oh yeah, the white-throated swifts," and there was not a single one to be seen.
Yeah, couldn't find a single one in the sky.
It was like the wind had blown them away.
It shifted just enough, and off they head.
Yeah. So Morro Rock, like we've talked about in the past and earlier in this, it's a beautiful monolith. It's 581 feet high, so it's pretty huge. It has a long history with humans, starting with the tribes, and then it's been mined by settlers and turned into the bay and all this stuff. So it's morphed and changed a lot, but right now it is a state park that a lot of people go hiking in, like we were talking about. And one of my favorite things about it is the plant diversity that's there. Where else in the world can you go where there's a prickly pear that's like 50 feet away from bull elk?
I would even say bull kelp. I would even say prickly pear. There are some of those prickly pears that are probably within 25 feet.
I was just being generous.
Bull kelp. I know, just in case. But it is super like you have these two very diverse species that are just hanging out next to each other just because that's just the way it works.
Yeah.
It's a really, really interesting habitat. Very busy, very full of life, both human life and plant and animal life just kind of around on this rock. So pretty cool.
Well, and you can't beat seeing sea otters.
No.
Just right at the base of it.
With their babies like sitting on their chest, and they're I want to say preening, but they're grooming them.
Yeah.
And they're not birds. They're furred things,
mammals?
Not feathered things. Mammals, that's what they're called.
Mammals.
They preening their babies, like just just hanging out.
Well,
They make little otter noises.
Yes, I feel like I didn't even notice the otter noises last year.
Oh, we talked about the otter noises
Did we?
last year. Yeah.
It's so cute. And then they're holding hands so they don't float away from each other.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, some of the cutest animals.
Yeah, lots of fun. Yeah. Lots of fun to watch.
Especially when they're cleaning their little heads and their arms don't go all the way over.
It's just kind of they're reaching their head around. Yeah.
So adorable. But also Morro Rock is really important for peregrine falcons.
Yes. So we talked about this last year anyway. So real quick, peregrine falcons, DDT caused massive declines in their population. We outlawed DDT in the United States and the populations started to come up, but peregrine falcons, there was only 2 pairs left in California, right? Something like that. And one of the pairs was on Morro Rock. And so a lot of the breeding stock of birds in the recovery program came from Morro Rock. So the pair that was at the rock, they are kind of like the mother pair for a lot of the birds in California. A lot of their genes can be tied, especially the ones that were in the recovery program, that came out of the recovery program, can be traced back to the rock. So that's pretty darn cool.
Yeah, and it's fun to share that with the folks who are on our trips because they don't necessarily know that. They know that peregrine falcons are important to Morro Rock, but they don't necessarily know why. Yeah. So it's fun to chat about that. And last year, one of the festival organizers, Chris, was on our trip, and he was part of the falconer group that helped with that effort.
Yeah, part of the club that helped do the egg recovery, getting the wild eggs before they got crushed by the peregrines, because it causes eggshell thinning. We've talked about a lot of this, but he was part of a club that was part of that recovery process.
Yeah. So we saw that one, and we saw one every day that we were there, and sometimes they put on a better show than others. But we ended up seeing them, which was always a fun thing to do. And we also had lots of grebes and cormorants and herons and other water birds. Like we said, it's just such a diversity of things that within, 100-foot stretch, you can have all these really cool water birds that are more difficult to find. And then you have Lawrence's goldfinches and the peregrines. So it's an easy place to get a lot of species. And after, the sunset and we were ready for dinner, we went off to Rose's, which is a restaurant that's along the waterfront there. And they were doing an event, a happy hour event for the folks at the festival. Yeah. So that's a good time. And it's a pretty restaurant that has a nice view of the water.
Maybe it has a good view of the water. I've never been there when the sun was up. I've only ever been there when it's dark. And so it's one whole wall is windows. So I imagine there's a good view out of those windows. But I've never been there during the day.
I think if you said at the bar, because the bar is lower. Yeah. And so you can see through the windows right there.
Maybe. I'm just saying, we've never been there.
I looked. I purposefully looked.
I feel like I looked and it's just as dark out there.
Yeah.
Maybe it's good. I'm sure it's good. Okay. They advertise a good feel.
Advertising's never wrong. So the next morning was our first trip. We had a 9 a.m. beginner birding walk around Morro Rock. And one of the things that I really love about this festival is that they have 9 a.m. trips. So Rio, sometimes we're up sometimes our trip starts at 5. So it's nice.
So then we're up at 4.
Yeah.
But here, nice. A lot of our trips start much later. So it's not as rough on the sleep schedule. Yeah.
We had a full walk with a mix of new birders and some with a bit more experience. And our trip, like I said, is a beginner birding walk. There was also an NPR affiliate who joined us too, and she wrote an article about the festival and mentioned our trip, which was really cool. And she was into birds.
She was into birds, yeah.
Yeah, so that was really fun to chat with her. And we start off by, talking about binoculars and eBird and all this really basic stuff. And then we walk over towards the north side of the rock where there's a lot of cormorants and gulls. So we can continue going over how to use binoculars and identification tips for large
things that aren't moving that much.
Yeah, that are easy to see.
Yeah. So gulls, very hard to identify, but they don't move very much. So you can, get everyone to get good at pointing their binoculars at a thing that's not moving that much.
Well, and then you can talk about, the anatomy that you might mention, legs and mantle and, bill color and all that stuff.
Bill color and eye ring and any of the stuff that might be useful to identify things. It's okay, well, this is where you're finding it. On this bird, you see it at this color. This is the sort of thing to look for. So it's it's kind of nice on the bigger birds to be able to help teach people field marks in the field of birds. But from there, we move along. We go real close to the rock and walk along the east edge of the rock where there's lots of sparrows. We get tons and tons of sparrows. Lots of house sparrows that are in the parking lot itself, and lots of brewer's blackbirds. But then in the vegetation, we get golden crowned sparrows and white crowned sparrows and all sorts.
Blue-gray gnatcatchers.
Yeah. And wrens that are all just like making all sorts of noise and just feeding and doing interesting things. And we had a couple of the days, we had some participants that were kind of like antsy to keep moving forward. And it's like, we had to like kind of slow them down and be like, we're just taking this slow. Let's look at these things. The birds will evolve as it comes. Things will come out of the bushes and we'll see them. And because they really wanted to get around this, there was a couple of times that it was like, let's take a breath. I think we'll be good. We'll get around there.
Yeah,
we have a few hours.
Well,
we'll make it.
And that spot is last year we had a really good canyon wren sighting.
Yeah,
that called, and so we really wanted to get everybody to have that experience because
to watch it sing.
Yeah. Well, and also just to like hear it sing, because the thing about that spot that I think is really cool is with the rocks, it just reverberates.
Yeah,
in
so loud.
Such an interesting way. It's like, being in like one of those old Greek like theaters where you can just hear it call, and it's such a, then people get to see this tiny little bird is making this like huge noise.
Yeah.
So we get a chance to see those. There's also a really good spot for phoebes, just right by the cormorants. So yeah, we try to get everybody best looks as possible, like any guide does. The best looks we can possibly get on these species. And then we go over to the estuary. There's mergansers and buffleheads and grebes and lots of scoters and things like that. And then we continued around towards the end of the rock, and it gets really hot in there. It's kind of like just a heat bowl.
Yeah, well, there's no wind. Like the rock cuts the wind off, so then all of a sudden you're like baking in the sun, which this year, very, very warm festival.
Yeah.
We topped 80 degrees one of the days, and then it was like 77 on two of the other days. So it was a very, very unseasonably warm festival.
Yeah, but we did have, the first day we were there, we had an amazing red-tailed hawk fly over.
Yeah.
And it was right at the top of the rock, so, 500 feet above us or so. Mm-hmm. And it was circling for maybe 20 or 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And so that was a really good model also to be able to talk to people about like how to look at hawks,
how to look at soaring birds, and what parts of the soaring bird to look for.
Yeah. So then also blue-gray gnatcatchers, in the vegetation that's right next to the trail, and goldfinches and phoebes, like we've mentioned. And then on the way out, after, we kind of got our fill of being in the heat, when we were walking back towards the parking lot, we passed by another trip leader, and she asked if we got the chance to see a mottled seabird that was in the water, and she thought it was maybe a pigeon guillemot or a common murre. So you took a long time looking at that with everybody.
So we see both of those species very regularly.
In the breeding season.
In breeding season. Different plumage. Daily. From May until September, like every single day, April till September probably.
Yeah.
Just every single day we see those birds. It's just constant. So I'm like, oh yeah, this is not going to be a problem. Let's take a look at this bird. So we go and we find the bird, and it's floating around in the bay, and I'm like, oh, I don't know what this is. I'm like, oh geez. And she was like depending on me to be able to answer, because she was like, I think it's a pigeon guillemot, but it might be a common murre. And I'm like looking at it, and I'm like, I think it's a common murre. This kind of looks like a common murre to me. So I'm looking at it really tough, and then I tell her, I'm like, okay, I think that's where we're at. I think this is a common murre. These are the field marks that I'm looking at to say this is a common murre. And she's like, okay, well, all right, well, what about the bill? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. Its bill's kind of hard. And so then we separate. We go off on our own ways. Yeah. And then later, I took a couple of pictures of it. Later, I looked at the pictures, and I was like, oh, geez, no, this is very clearly a winter plumage pigeon guillemot, which that's my first time ever seeing a winter plumage pigeon guillemot.
Yeah.
It would have also been my first time ever seeing a winter plumage common murre, but it's completely different than what I was expecting. And so then I had to go find her later in the day and be like, hey, I'm sorry, I was wrong. This is it. This is the reason why I was wrong. These are the field marks that I missed.
Well, like, okay. And if we had been paying attention to the rare bird alert, we would have seen that it had been
exactly.
Yeah, but I looked at the rare bird alert for just January, and I think it hadn't been reported in January.
It had not,
but it had been reported for the Christmas bird count in December.
But it was like December 20th or something is when their Christmas bird count was. So it was relatively early. It had been, honestly, I don't think it had been reported for like 3 weeks by the time we saw it. So it was around somewhere. People just didn't report it, but it was there, and boom. Every single day from then on, people were reporting it. So it's like, okay, well, I guess, yes, it is Pigeon Guillemot hanging out in the bay.
So after we finished up our trip, we had a few minutes to spare before our presentation that afternoon, and Eric had some city council duties that he had to attend to. So we went over to some mud flats so I could bird while he was dealing with the city council stuff.
Oh, and answering emails and whatever.
Yeah. There was a few marbled godwits and willets and yellow legs and some western sandpipers, but that is a really good spot, and it's over by the marina. Mm-hmm. That's a really nice spot to just park and sit with your spotting scope and look at shorebirds.
Yeah. So many shorebirds.
Yeah, and pelicans and bald eagles and lots of stuff in there.
Mm-hmm.
Our presentation was full, so thanks to our listeners who attended. I hope you learned something. We talked about how to make your house more bird friendly, and
it kind of based the full program on a talk that we've already done before, which was how to help the birds.
Yeah.
And that program was kind of draws a lot of data from the
3 billion
birds lost report that came out. So it's kind of it's ever forming and ever improving presentation. But we contacted one of our friends, Donnie Masterson, who lives here in Cannon Beach. He is an artist. He does artwork for Disney, and
he does, and also set design for a lot of movies,
Universal programming and
he's
stuff like that.
He's probably the most famous person that we know.
Probably. But he's someone that's behind the scenes. Somebody that
you should blur out his name when you said it.
Yeah, probably. Anyways,
we don't want people harassing him.
Exactly. Yeah, he's extremely artistic, extremely talented,
and super nice.
Creating sets, creating physical things. He created the sandcastle. I built a trailer.
Okay, you're getting deep in the weeds.
Anyways, for a sandcastle contest parade, he designed a float around a trailer that I put together. So he's a very talented guy,
and he helped us make our slides.
Yes.
So
long story short, he did all the artwork for our slides, or like 3/4 of the artwork for our slides.
And I think that was what made it awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah. People were hanging on what's going to change in this one?
I know, that was pretty funny.
Yeah. So
if you are with an Audubon Society or a Bird Alliance and you want us to do a Zoom presentation, ours is made by a famous person. But actually, we are open to doing that. So if you would like to do that, just contact us. Anyways, so yeah, our presentation I feel was a lot of fun. I'm always how long is this going to take? Because I think through it and it's this is probably only going to be 20 minutes. Ended up being 55 minutes. So, but I mean,
should have only been 45 though. Oh well.
But people were chiming in with stuff that they know, and so yeah, it's we're pretty informal, and it was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, that evening, there was a get-together for the guides and volunteers, but again, we had some time to kill, and so we were just, trying to find an eBird hotspot nearby, and ended up on Sweet Springs Nature Preserve, which was pretty near there, and we'd never been, so we decided to stop by.
Yeah, so it's a really nice nature trail. It's on the south edge of the bay, so during high tide, a lot of the shorebirds come in. At low tide, it's kind of they just go way out, and they kind of disappear way out there. It was kind of middle of the two between high and low tide. So lots of birds around the parking lot area, lots of birds in the little forested areas, mostly eucalyptus that's growing in the beginning portion of it before you get down into the lower bay sort of habitat area.
Yeah.
But we had yellow rumped warblers, Townsend's warblers, lots of dark-eyed juncos. And then we had some really weird birds that I could not figure out why they had black on their face.
Anyways, they ended up being ruby crown kinglets.
Yes.
But for some reason they had, black along their face, their snout. Somebody took a Sharpie and colored it around their face.
Across their forehead and then around their chins. So then it was why is there all this black on these birds? And we didn't have a camera with us.
Of course.
And I couldn't find any plumages that looked like this in any of the field guides.
We Googled the heck out of it.
Yeah, nothing comparable.
Yeah.
But they were ruby crown kinglets.
And there was a couple of them. There's like 3 or 4 that we found that looked like that. And I was trying to get a picture with my phone, and no luck.
No luck. But we get to the gathering that we were going to afterwards, and we start talking with Sharon. She used to have a podcast, The Bird Chick. The Bird Chick. We're talking with her, and she suggested, well, could it just be pollen? And so then we looked up, and I think eucalyptus has a dark colored pollen.
Maybe.
I'm not sure. But
I just tried to Google like black pollen, and it didn't. It came up with some plants that have black pollen, but it wasn't anything specific.
I don't know, but I think Bird Chick is right. I think we're looking at some birds that had some pollen staining on their face.
We've seen before in other birds that they'll have like yellow,
but bright yellow usually. Yeah.
So that was kind of bizarre.
Having dark pollen is just weird.
So if you've seen that before, let us know.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. We didn't get any photos, and we went back another day, and still no photos.
And nobody on eBird from that site had photos of them that looked like that.
It was a really interesting couple of birds. It was like 4 of them. Yeah, that all looked like this.
So the next day was our eBird and Merlin 101 crash course, which can be tough with a group on the trail because we're all playing on our phone and everybody is at a different place on playing with it. You know, some people are having trouble logging in and some people are like having trouble elsewhere using the app or so it's a little slow.
It's a lot of talking.
Yeah.
It's a lot of talking and a lot of playing on our phones. And not a lot of birding. So if you come with us on one of these trips, that's
birding is not the goal.
Birding, you end up seeing some birds.
Sure.
You're outside, you see some birds. You see some cool birds too, but it's a lot of playing on your phone. And the objective is to make logging eBird second nature, and you just forget about it. But to start off with, it's a lot of playing on your phone and teaching it is a lot of talking about playing on your phone. Yeah,
and so it was at Cloisters Park, which I forgot how much I like that park.
Yeah, it's a nice park.
It's a really nice park, and there's a nice diversity of species. It's easy walking with good trails, and there's also, a lot of people who are using that one as well, but not nearly as busy as Morro Rock.
Yeah, not even close.
Yeah, and it's really handy that there's a house that's down towards the beach from there next to the mangroves that has bird feeders set up on their deck. And so you get a lot of starlings and blackbirds and chickadees and finches that all feed there. And it's a nice place to talk about Merlin and using Merlin and how Merlin can, help you disseminate all those species calls when you're just like overwhelmed with what's happening.
Yeah, you get a chance to talk about the infinite attention span of Merlin, that it can hear all of the different things at the same time and compare them all at once, and it'll pop up with 5 species all at once, and maybe you're only hearing 3 of the 5.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of nice to be able to talk about that and show it in real time that, oh, look, you hear all these birds, you only hear the red-winged blackbirds because it's the loudest and the most obnoxious right now, but you've also got the house finches calling, you've also got the white-crowned sparrows singing, you've got everything else is doing the same time. So it's kind of nice to be able to point that stuff out too.
Well, and they're singing so loud because they're right next to you. So it's fun to look at the spectrogram and explain to people about spectrograms. And it's like you can actually see the call really nicely because it's so close and so big.
Exactly. It's very easy for even you to see as opposed to just the algorithm to recognize the pattern.
Yeah. So the rock stars of that day, I thought, were a couple of Lawrence's goldfinches that were feeding in the flowers alongside the trail, and some wren tits that were singing super loud.
Yeah. Very loud wren tits.
And on this walk, we also walk out to the beach because it's a different hotspot. The reviewers are very specific about that. So if you put the wrong species on the Cloisters Park list, you'll get an email. And we like to show people how that all works with the eBird checklist.
Yeah.
That you need to, close out that checklist and start a new one. And this is a different hotspot because of these reasons.
Because of these reasons, yeah.
Yeah. So afterwards, I think everybody was able to submit a list and has a better understanding of how the program works.
Yeah. Yeah. So finished up with our trip. It's an afternoon trip, so it's not super early again.
Yeah.
But the vendor expo, it was open once we were done with our trip. So we stopped over, got some lunch at like a burrito place.
Yeah.
that was really close to the expo.
I have no idea what it was called.
I have no idea what it was called.
But either. How line out the door.
Yeah. It looked like it was like all high schoolers that were like on their lunch break. Maybe. Or something. I'm not sure. It all seemed like teenagers that were eating there. Like it was a teenage spot to go get lunch.
Yeah, which is obviously where we want to be.
Yeah, obviously. But it's pretty good. And they also had a discount for the festival attendees. So got some tacos and burritos, ate them up, delicious, and then hit up the vendor expo to see what was there this year.
Yeah, so this year
there was a lot.
This year the festival had about 1,200 registered people, and it's busy with a ton of events, like over 250 trips that they do.
Yeah, and so many
people, and so about 900 paying customers, and then about 300 volunteers and speakers and leaders and all that stuff. Yeah. The vendor expo area is inside like a community center and like their conference room, and so that is just a hub of activity as well, with binocular sales and trips, and the local Audubon group has a table too. There's a couple of education booths as well. Christina Ball has a booth there as well, so that's a lot of fun to go check that out and see all of the cool stuff that people are selling. Yeah. So this year for the celebrities, they had Greg Miller, Dorian Anderson, and Scott Weisendahl were the big ticket items that they were really advertising. And then of course us.
And then us, us, the most famous of all.
It was fun to reconnect with Greg. We haven't really talked to him since we had him on our episode a couple years ago.
A few years ago. It's been a while since we've actually talked to Greg, but he recognized and remembered us and chatted, and it's like, it's been like 3 years since we've talked with you, man. Like, that's great that you remember us. That's awesome. Like,
No, he's really sweet.
He is such a nice guy, and we follow him on Facebook, and we've interacted a little bit on Facebook with him.
Yeah, and they did a showing of the Big Year at the local theater, which I think would have been a lot of fun. I wish we.
But it was all sold out.
You're right.
we couldn't get a ticket because it was all sold out way ahead of time.
Yeah, and we had a chance also to chat with Dorian, except Dorian was in and out, and he's always hustling busy. As
well. He's always working hard.
Yeah, but it sounds like his keynote was really popular. Which it was 2 hours, and I was like shocked, to find out that it was 2 hours long. But I know that Dorian can talk for 2 hours, and it'll always be interesting.
It'll be good,
Yeah, he's got so much going on as well. So after we got our fill of that, we closed it down, and we had a couple friends that were talking about going to Sammy J's for dinner, which was
it's an Irish pub, I guess,
that wasn't very far away,
walking distance.
Yeah, and it was a really nice spot, good food. They had, this is the beer part of the episode, so you can turn it off if you're not into beer. But they had beers on draft, and one of them, none of them really sounded good to me. They were like English beers.
Guinness and Harp, and it was the regular like Irish pub beers that you would get. There was a few like lesser known Irish beers, but it was just kind of like that was just the main stuff.
But they had one called Dark Horse, and I was thinking like, okay, that's got to be like a stout, like a Guinness or something. And I asked the bartender what it was, and he said, "Oh, it's a boysenberry and cream." And I was like, okay,
that's weird.
Sounds good. And so I got that. Ended up being a seltzer, like hard seltzer.
Yeah.
But it was like a milkshake. It was thick and delicious.
It looked like a stout still though. Like when it came out, I was thinking like before you took a drink, I'm looking at this like. Looked like a dark beer.
Yeah.
I'm like, that looks like a stout. It has like a thick foam on top.
Well, he didn't say it was
he didn't say it was a seltzer. He didn't say, he just said it was
boysenberry and cream.
Boysenberry and cream. And that's like the only description that he gave of it.
Well, and we've had beers like that before that have lactose in them, like the one in Hillsborough that we had it was like an ice cream beer.
Yeah.
So I thought it was going to end up being like that, but yeah, it was seltzer. It was fantastic. If you ever have an opportunity to get this seltzer, it's like only sold in California.
Yeah.
But it's called Dark Horse, and it was so good. And it didn't really taste alcohol-y at all. Yeah. So easy to drink.
Yeah. Well, I got a burger and an IPA.
Yeah.
So I was very boring at dinner. I didn't go adventurous like a boysenberry cream seltzer.
I mean, how could I pass that up?
That's true.
Yeah, but it was a fun hangout spot.
Yeah, so we had a great time. We did beginner birding and e-bird on the trail every day during the festival. So that was great for us to just basically refine what we were doing each day. And we went to the same places each time, and it was a different checklist every single time. So we made sure to emphasize that to all of our participants. Like, you can come back to this spot every single day and you're going to have a slightly different makeup of what's here. And it was evidenced like in our checklists, like every single day we get around the same number, but then there'd be like a bunch of random things that are different. So.
Yeah, and those spots are just so much fun to walk, and they're easy and accessible, and they're actually connect up if you go long enough.
You can walk north. It there's a trail that goes across a creek, and then it kind of goes up past the school, and then boom, you're right at Cloisters Park. So it's all interconnected. You could hop on a bike and just ride in between all those spots and see all that same stuff all in one day. Yeah. So we have more Central California Coast adventure coming up on our, I think, next episode. Some of our next upcoming episodes are a little bit of birding around that we did and our trip back to San Jose. So I look forward to talking about all that stuff at a later date. But until then, we hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast. Thank you for listening, and please rate, review, and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Music, or anywhere else you listen to us. If you'd like to connect with us on the socials, you can follow us at Hannah Goes Birding and Eric Goes Birding on Instagram. You can follow our Facebook page at Hannah and Eric Go Birding. You can also send us an email at hannahanderic@gmail.com. You can also check out our website at www.gobirdingpodcast.com. Tell us what you think and share the love of birding with your friends.